Good evening, Amy. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So, and so now you can not run for the state representative.
Yep, that is the current situation.
So, what happened?
Yeah, so when you run in the primary, there are two different ways that you are affiliated with a political party.
Mhm.
And up until last, I believe it was April or May, you had to, the most recent primary that you voted in had to be a Republican Party,
Right.
just so Democrats did not come and run in the Republican primary just as spoilers to completely throw things off.
Okay.
But last year, in the Indiana House, a bill was introduced that would make it so you had to have voted in two previous primaries. And because that law was passed in April of a non-election year and went into effect of January this year,
Okay.
there was no opportunity if you hadn't voted in previous primaries to actually remedy the situation. So there was no proper notice that, hey, now in order to be eligible to be on the ballot, you have to do this extra step or this extra thing.
Okay. So this is basically there's something new.
It's a new law. Yeah, it was authored by Representative Wesco, who is also a representative for the Goshen area. So it's unfortunate that this was a Republican-led initiative, because you would think they would be proponents of a wide open process, letting people be a part of the process, but unfortunately, they just want to keep their seats in their situation.
So is he going to run for re-election?
He is running for re-election, yes.
Okay. So this actually is to his advantage.
Oh, for sure, yes.
Okay, okay. Wow. And so you voted in the previous primary, right? Just not the one before that.
Yeah, I voted in 2012 in the primary in Indiana.
Okay.
In 2016, I voted in the primary in South Carolina.
Okay.
And I actually volunteered for Ben Carson's campaign. I was a huge fan of him. So I was helping to work on his campaign in South Carolina during the primary season. And then I was back in Indiana for the 2018 primary, but I was called away on a last minute work trip. It was a project I wasn't even supposed to be on, but they just told me on the weekend, hey, you have to be here Monday. So I was not able to vote for that one. I did send my husband, so we're represented, but unfortunately, I didn't get to vote in that one. And then in May of 2020, I was diagnosed with cancer. So I was just going through like a lot of different tests and treatments and biopsies. So the primary was not on the top of my mind at that time.
Of course not, yeah. And that time, I mean, 2020, our focus is really at the federal level. Is the president we're trying to, but all our, our energy and our attention is focused on that, not at the local level.
Yep. And so the other way you can get on the ballot is to be affiliated with the Republican Party by certification from the county chair. However, the law does not specify what that means. So I am a member of the Republican Party. I have a Republican Party membership card that was sent to me by the Elkhart County Republican Party. I am a sponsor of the Elkhart County Republican Party. If you go to their website, you will see that I'm listed as a sponsor. Every other person that's listed as a sponsor is actually a elected representative in the Republican Party. So these are things that I felt affiliated me with the Republican Party. And so that is when I submitted my candidacy, I confirmed that I was a member of the Republican Party based on those things that were provided to me from the Elkhart County Republicans, because the county chair is the head of those offices. So those offices wouldn't be acting outside of his purview or his control. Okay,
so now, well, basically, you still, I mean, the other way to get on the ballot is the county chairman to somehow certify you, right?
Yes, and so that since that's not defined, it's really up in the air what that could mean.
Okay.
I heard some hearings and challenges from previous years, and at some point they're like, oh, if you ever had an email where he said you would be a good candidate, then that can count. Or it doesn't have to be, there's no certain piece of paperwork that has to be completed. There's no specific thing. The law just says certification.
I see. Just they don't specify how.
They do not specify.
And so can you get certified from the county chairman? For you, like, can you still have that route open to you?
No, because the deadline to submit your candidacy is, it was in February.
Oh.
I believe it was February 4th.
So you need to have a certification before February 4th?
Yes.
Oh, but you thought you didn't need that, right?
I felt like what I had affiliated me with the Republican Party and showed that I was a member of the party in good standing.
Should be sufficient enough, but.
Should be sufficient, yes.
Okay, wow. What, so you actually went to some kind of hearing, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh. So what kind of hearing is that?
So it's a hearing that's conducted by the Election Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the members of that commission are appointed. There are 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. Okay. And then there are also a couple of election lawyers that come and hear those cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically you appeal to them? So in order to get a hearing?
Actually, when you submit your candidacy, someone has to bring a challenge.
Oh.
And if that person brings a challenge, they're essentially the person bringing the charge, and then you're the defendant.
Oh, okay. So in your case, someone challenged you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know who challenged you?
Yeah, it was the GOP chair, Dan Holtz, for Elkhart County.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Which means that, I mean, you wouldn't get certified from him anyway.
Yeah, that's his take on it. We had some conversations, and he did say he welcomed me to the process, that I could run for Elkhart County Clerk or Elkhart County Recorder or other offices. Mm-hmm. He just didn't want anyone running for this seat.
Okay, so you don't want...
Which I felt was outside of his purview, because the law says that they're certifying that you are a member of the party.
Right.
They're not saying, hey, I give you full permission to run for this exact office.
Exactly. I mean, it's just basically, it shouldn't be the case, right?
Yeah, so we had a disagreement in the way that the law was written and what it allowed him to do.
Okay, okay. Wow. So I heard that there are quite a few people were rejected.
Yes. Okay. It's what we heard all day. And the cases were not applied in the same manner all day long.
Okay.
Because as I was sitting there were 6 hours of testimony before mine.
Oh, wow.
And I was altering my strategy and what I was planning to do up through the day, depending on how they conducted the hearing, different things they allowed to be entered into evidence and things of that nature. So I significantly cut down my statement because the challenge that was brought against me was very specific.
Okay.
And I wanted to keep it focused just on the challenge that was raised against me. Mm-hmm. But the Election Commission pretty much made it wide open and brought everything in. But it was after I had had the chance to issue my statement or give, my side of things. Mm-hmm. So the way they conducted it was not extremely fair. No. And I would say the vast majority of people, they just went with whatever the will of the county chair was.
I see.
There was only like 1 or 2 situations that I saw, I think 3 total that I saw, where they went against the county chair's will.
Okay, so the challenge actually were brought by county chairs, right?
Yes, they were.
Okay, is that part of the process? The county chairs will bring challenges?
Yeah, so if the challenge is going to be brought, either the county chair brings it or another voter can bring it,
Okay.
but they have to have a signature of the county chair if it's going to be another voter.
Oh, so they give actually the county chair a lot of power.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that typical of the Republicans, or that's the same for the Democrats?
It's the same for the Democrats. The same law applies to both.
And those actually are, in a way, those are not constitutional, right?
No, they're not constitutional because in the Constitution, the Indiana Constitution, you have to be 25 years old,
right,
have to have been a US citizen for 2 years, and have to live, live in the state of Indiana for 2 years, be a US citizen, and live in your district for 1 year.
So they add upon top of that, which is not right.
Yeah, if you're a certain age, then the Constitution, they've added years to it. If you have lived out of state and you come and live here, they've added to that significantly. So it's not constitutional, and there are opportunities to test the constitutionality of it.
Okay. Well, what can you do now? Can you like challenge them, or you just say, okay, I'm going to do something else?
If there's an appeal process, the appeal process though is lengthy. So you have 30 days during which you can appeal. Mm-hmm. And if you appeal during those 30 days, then I'm not sure who even hears your case, but the primary is May 3rd. So it's like 8 weeks from now. So the odds of getting things to a certain point where you could be on the ballot are not very good.
Okay. Yeah, they definitely make it difficult for.
They do, yes.
Yes,
they do.
The current office holders. Okay, so now what's your plan now? What are you going to do?
Yes, so right now I am working with a lot of the other candidates because there were a lot of candidates that are running against incumbents that agree with me that the situation in Indianapolis right now is not healthy. We have the governor sets the course and says, this is what I want to do. The head of the house says, okay, that's what we're going to do. And they just convince everybody to do whatever their agenda is.
Right.
There's no like, hey, I came from this district and this is what the people in my district want. Okay. The representation is backward.
I see.
So there are a lot of other people that are running in a similar fashion to what I was. They really want to bring the representative model back.
Right.
That's how we are supposed to be governed. Right. So I am going to plug in with a lot of those people and help them get elected, because once it comes to the state house, if you have some proponents of liberty there, they're going to help everybody. Right. So exactly. If we can get 3 or 4 or 5 of those elected, that will have a huge impact on the level of liberty that we have in Indiana. Right. So my goal is to plug in with those people and be a support and help them where I can.
Oh, wonderful. Do you have someone in your area that is going to challenge the incumbent?
No, the only people that signed up in the primary were myself and Joanna King. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to run, because she did not win the election to become a representative. Okay. She was appointed by the GOP caucus. So she is a hand-picked candidate from just a small group of people, under 60 people, now as the state representative. And I really thought the voters deserve a choice because this person wasn't elected.
Oh, okay.
And so now with the GOP's chair's actions, he has made it so she's the only choice.
Okay. But can the voters have a choice?
They can vote for her or nobody.
Okay. But can they, like, say, do a write-in?
Not for the primary.
Okay.
Yeah. So after the primary, the Republican and the Democrat will be selected, and then the general election will be held in May. At that time, there'll be the Democrat and the Republican on the ballot. there may be an independent, there may be libertarian,
Right.
those other candidates. So there could be somebody challenging. Usually the Democrats in this area do run a candidate, but they usually only get like 30% of the votes. So
how about libertarian in your area?
There's no libertarian running at the moment. Okay. The Libertarians had their meeting where they select candidates.
Right.
I think it was last week, and they selected a couple of candidates, but they still have a lot of openings.
Okay.
But they have until, I think it's the middle of July to fill all their seats. They can leave everything kind of open until mid-July, because mid-July is when you have to have your candidacy submitted for the general election. Okay.
Well, so I guess the voters have a choice at that time, right? In the January.
Yeah. So they'll have a choice at that time.
Right. Instead of vote in, say, a Republican, they vote in a Libertarian or somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough choice if you're a Republican, because then at that point you know.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for the update, and really appreciate that you can step out. And it's a shame that the GOP establishment is well, in a way, that's what they have been doing, right?
Yeah. This is proving the point that these people that are there, they don't want to represent us.
No.
They don't want us part of the process. They say, oh, we want to widen and bring people in. No, they want your money and they want your vote, but they don't want your opinion. And they certainly don't want to represent you.
Right.
And this is just par for the course. And it's demonstrating what they do and how they control government. And I think that in itself is a really valuable exercise. So, a lot of people say, oh, how do you feel? Do you feel terrible? No, I don't feel terrible. I feel like we had a good outcome from me running.
Right.
We were able to show what the will of the county chair in this particular county is. We were able to see what kind of decisions that person will make when it does come to broadening the party. And so now we know that in the future, that's probably not who we would select to be the county chair.
Okay.
So I think that's a valuable exercise. We've also been able to have a hearing with the election committee, so we understand that they are going to rule according to the will of the county chair most of the time. So that gives us a lot of information that we need for future campaigns.
Right. So how is a county chair selected?
They're selected by precinct committeemen. So this particular election cycle, the Democrats will elect their precinct committeemen.
Okay.
And then in 2024, the Republicans will elect their precinct committeemen. These are not offices that people even know are available. So a lot of times less than half of them are filled. And so after the election, the county chair can put in everybody they want.
Oh.
So people don't know these exist. I think there's like 100 of them in Elkhart County. There's slightly over 100, like maybe 110, 115.
Okay.
And
so they are pretty much being kind of appointed from the establishment.
Yeah, they get appointed by the GOP chair, and then they vote on who the GOP chair is.
Right.
Yeah. And then the GOP chair gets to pick who's on the ballot.
Right. So it's not really a democracy.
No, it's like 50 or 60 people probably in your county that control the whole thing, and everybody else is an outsider and doesn't really have a say.
What is there any way? Is there any kind of way for the rank and file to basically revote and maybe recall the county chair or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I say reform, not revolt. So I think that there is definitely an opportunity for people who are conservatives, who, a lot of these people say they're Trump conservatives, but Trump was from the outside. Right. Trump wasn't someone that stood in line and did the right thing and all of those kind of things. Yeah. He was a person that said, hey, here's a problem that I think I can solve. I'm going to lend money and my skills and my ability to this. And you saw the outcome of that. Right. It was great because you had someone that was motivated to do the right thing for America and was willing to put themselves on the line for that. So I think if we have a lot of people that think that that should be part of our process and how our process works, I think we definitely head to the polls very strong in the primary for 2024 and vote in people who are conservative precinct committeemen so that we get a conservative chair. Right. Because if we get someone who's fair and conservative and does the right thing, this county will be in a lot better shape and start to shift. Right, exactly. If you look at all the things that the county chair is able to do, it's extensive. Okay. So it is a very important role. I see. Yeah, I guess like your experience basically exposed, well, first of all, exposed what they have been doing. Until they still keep doing the same thing. Basically, it's not something new, but they exposed that practice, and also show the voters that the importance to have like the county chairs and the precinct, what I call that, precinct chair. Yeah, committeeman. Committeeman, yeah. And also really to get into like to volunteer at the voting place and also be like delegates and all that. And those things are actually pretty important. Yes, all of those things are important. And I think, just showing up is extremely important, because the reason that those few people have control is because they're the ones who've been showing up. Right. And so it's not that they're doing anything outside of the people's will or something like that. I don't think they're sitting there conspiring or anything. No. It's just that you get this group think that's just from this small group, right. Because everybody else is just assuming it's being handled or being done in the way that they would do it. But I think we all have to take accountability and responsibility for our involvement in the process. Yep. And we have to start showing up. Find out when your city GOP meeting is and go to it. Find out when your county GOP meeting is and go to it. Right. And don't expect a cheery reception. No. Yeah. You have to know going in, right, that they are going to be wary of you, and it will take some time to build relationships. But I think you just keep at it, keep showing up until you get to know people on an individual level, and that they know that you're there to bring good and you're not there to hurt the party. You're there to help the party. Right. Exactly. And also that's basically like in America, we are a republic. It's not a democracy at the federal and especially federal level. Yeah. But we do have a democracy at the local level. And that's something I think we take for granted for too long. And we really need to pay attention to it. Yeah, because like, everybody is talking about that they are for democracy, they are for transparency, but when they get to the steakhouse, and they are not really doing that. And I think in a way we have to realize that we just cannot trust them to do what they say. We really have to be there to watch what they do, yeah, and to vote in that people that truly believe in the Republican values. Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's really to protect the party, because, I've had people say, well, you can run as anything else. This is our game. And, you're just coming in trying to spoil our game. Well, no, I've been a Republican since kindergarten. Right. I remember having conservative values all the way through. I remember in 4th grade watching like Dan Quayle and Benson have their debate. But I have been a Republican since the beginning. I've always been interested in this. I have very conservative values. Right. So my feeling is I'm not going to let anybody chase me out of my own party. No. Just because some specific rule that they think they can point at me and say, you're not a Republican. I know who I am. I don't let other people tell me who I am. Exactly. And I encourage other people to do the same thing. when you go in and, you know, you're made to feel an outsider. No, that's your party. You stay
Right.
there and you fight for it, because what's going to happen is if we don't allow the primary process to work, we are going to spawn third parties.
Mhm.
We are only strengthening the Libertarian Party every time we lock everyone else out of the process.
Mhm.
So if we want to continue to have a strong Republican Party where people believe that we're doing the right thing and we have true conservative values,
Right.
we need to make sure to have a robust primary process. Otherwise, those disagreements get vetted at a general election when there's 3 parties running.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I guess we'll see what happens this year. It's going to be interesting. And I think a lot of rank and file Republicans are starting to pay attention.
Yeah, yes, they are,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. I mean,
It is
it
good
can
thing.
only improve our chances
Yeah.
if we improve the involvement, because there are a lot of people with a lot of skills and talents that they haven't been lending to this.
Mhm.
And I think it can only make a stronger party, a stronger state, a stronger America
Right.
if more people are involved.
Right. And also, I think in the past, I mean, Americans, they don't pay a lot of attention to politics, is because
Yeah.
politics in the past, they don't affect you directly that much.
Yeah.
But the past, I mean, 2020 and 2021, and we start to see that. I mean, if we don't get involved, it does impact,
Yeah.
right? The masking, the school closure, the emergency orders, and all that. I mean, it's directly affecting us, and especially if you are small business owners, that's a huge. You know, the government can really ruin you.
Yeah, it will really intensify too over the next couple of years. So it is really important that we get some people with a backbone at the
Right.
State House
Yeah.
in 2022, because we've still got to ride out 2023 and 2024
Mhm.
with Joe Biden in office.
Right.
And if we're going to have a governor that essentially is implementing whatever's put in place at the federal level, which is what I've seen.
Right.
You know, President Biden comes out with Build Back Better. And if you look at Governor Holcomb's goals for this year, it's Build Back Better light.
Wow. Well, he wants to, you know, to go to Washington, right?
He's well on his way if he wants to run as a Democrat, I think. Yeah. I don't know who confirms his affiliation with the party, but maybe they should have vetted him a little more closely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for people like that, it really doesn't matter, right? They just whatever benefit them.
Yeah.
They are not loyal to any particular party. They just basically to use it to their advantage. I mean, if being a Democrat can get him to Washington D.C., he would.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, whatever it takes to be in power.
Yeah, and also, like, we have seen the past 2 years that many in our state house, I mean, those so-called Republicans, they are not really vote based on Republican values.
No. It's if you're paying attention, you see the names of the bills are good. What's in the bills is not good, and then they still can't even get those passed. So
no, yeah, I actually heard this from John Jacob. He is a good friend of mine, and like you said, we just needed like 4 or 5 to be in the state house. Now we have 2, John Jacob and Kurt Nicely, and so they actually exposed a lot of, you know, bad practices by the GOP establishment. So he told me that, I mean, because the House of Representatives, they had to facing election and only half the Senate. So they basically trying to please the voters. So they're going to have a bill, have a nice name to it, and then they're going to make amendment and going to do all kinds of things. And then they give to the Senate, and the Senate just kill it. So
Yeah.
So they can come out to the voters and say, I did what I can.
Yeah, HB 1001 is just like the biggest travesty, because all the legislature has to do is say, no, Governor Holcomb, you have overstepped. This is outside of your powers. We cannot have a state of emergency for 3 years.
Right.
Furthermore, we can't have a state of emergency so you can get federal money.
Right.
Is there a health crisis or is there not a health crisis? You have a financial crisis.
Right.
And then at the same time, you're claiming that you have all this surplus and you're going to give your voters back $125. I say keep my 125 and give me my freedom back.
Exactly.
And can we call it a day?
Right.
It's absurd what they're doing. And at the end of the day, that bill 1001, they're going to give the governor everything he wants. And in it, all we get is something that's already federal law. What is the point? It's a lot of circus.
Right. And also yesterday, IndyStar actually reported about HB 1134, which died in Senate. And but that's not in a way, I'm not surprised, because I know that's their tactic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And SB 17 is also not going to be heard. So if you can't have a Republican supermajority that agrees that you can't give pornography to kids in school, then why do we pay any of these people? Like, right. They should all just go home and pack it up now. Because if you can't agree on that, then you have a serious problem. Right.
I mean, SB 17 shouldn't be a how to say, it's not controversial. It should just pass. And it's basically saying, I mean, it's not even redefining pornography. It just basically says the existing laws has to apply to school library, and that's it.
The law that applies at the gas station, at the Walmart, at the beach, at your own home, that applies also in schools.
Right.
It doesn't sound controversial. No.
Yeah, I think we should actually hold them accountable for this. Yeah, and they really have to, I mean, there has to be some consequence. Otherwise, they'll keep doing the same thing.
Yep. Yep. And there are a lot of good candidates on the ballot. So that's great. I would encourage, people who follow you and listen to you to look up the candidates in their area and find out who they are, what they believe. You can even message me on Facebook or whatever. If you don't, who is this person? I can at least point you the direction to find out more about them. Right.
That's wonderful. That'll be very, very helpful. Yeah, I think we, in a way, the candidates has, well, first of all, the candidates, I think candidates has to work together.
Yes.
And then the rank and file Republicans also has to unite it to support those candidates.
Yeah, we have to be willing to take a little time to find out who people actually are.
Yeah.
And vote that way. And when people get in office, they do flip and do the wrong thing.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, in a way, like to me, it's pretty simple. I just any incumbent, I just don't vote them.
I think that is a fair assessment, other than the two that you mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come to my show, and so we can, I can learn from you, and hopefully our listeners can also learn from this, and when they need trying to find the right candidates, at least they can come to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing the story and getting the information out there, because I think it's important that people understand how the process works, so that when they want to be involved, they've got more information.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.